Wow, we are less than 2,000 subscribers away from possibly maybe the biggest Pokemon card giveaway YouTube has ever seen. It is going to be an absolute blast once we hit that 100,000 subscriber mark. Thank you guys so much for 98,000. When we hit that 100,000 subscriber mark, we are going to be giving away 3 vintage booster boxes. That's right. We've got all 3 of them right here. We're going to be giving these away in the form of a 100 subscriber pack break. So 100 lucky subscribers are each going to win a pack that is going to be broken live. The hits are going to be sent off to CGC for free to be graded with a special pedigree on the top of it, kind of commemorating the event, the 100K celebration. It's going to be an absolute blast. We got Team Rocket, we got Stormfront. Maybe there's a secret rare Charizard in that box. We've got Rising Rivals with all of the Rotoms. It's going to be an absolute blast. I know there's 108 packs in here, not 100. So the other 8 packs we're just going to be giving away throughout the stream as we're live. So 100 different winners. So if you want to continue to support the channel, if you want to help me hit my goal, hit that subscribe button down below, share the channel, leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really, really long way for the algorithm. But most importantly, just thank you for being here. If you don't want to do any of those things, don't do any of those things. I just really appreciate you guys being here, just hanging out, just talking Pokemon. It's an absolute blast. And thank you so much for all of the support you have given me already. It means everything to me. I want to rewind time a little bit to kind of preface this video, because we're going to talk about full art supporters and what's going on with some of them, right? We talk about, or you've heard about the Waifu Tax. Opossum Bud, who has a fabulous channel, he's talked about it quite a bit. OKJ Love has talked about it quite a bit, the Waifu Tax and what it's doing over in Japan with not only booster box prices, but single prices. Absolutely crazy. But we have hit on this topic several times in the past. A few years ago, if you were around during the kind of beginning of the pandemic, when Pokemon card prices really started to soar, Cardinal Gaming covered it quite a bit, Squeaks Game World covered it quite a bit, Twice Baked Jake covered it quite a bit, but we had a situation where there was just buyouts like crazy on many full art supporters, where overnight they went from, you know, $7, $8, $9, $10, somewhere around there, to $50, $60, $70, and there was no copies to be found anywhere. There were Discord groups, there were different groups that were kind of planning buying out all these cards because they thought they were undervalued at the time. And it was a very popular video to kind of record at that time, but we have actually been tracking these full art supporters ever since those buyouts, because they started crashing not too long after they got bought out. A lot of them started really going downhill, so we started kind of looking back and forth to see, okay, what is an actual price correction for these supposed to look like? And now, as we fast forward, roughly 3 years later, looking at some of these full art supporters, I was in Fort Wayne over the weekend. Shout out to everybody who I met at Fort Wayne. You guys are amazing. But I bought quite a few full art supporter cards. I bought Erica's Hospitality. I bought some Lilies. I bought some Cynthia and Caitlin's. It was just, they're looking up pricing on some of these cards to see where they're headed to. It is astounding. It is amazing how far some of these have climbed. So I really wanted to record a video so we can start talking. Okay, is that Waifu Tax that's kind of going on over in Japan starting to translate over to, or starting to transition over to the United States, or is this natural? Is this organic? So I'm curious to know what you guys think. If you want to drop a comment down below and let me know what you think about some of these cards. We're only going over 16 of them, because honestly, there's a lot more than 16 that we could go over, but we're going to start out just kind of going through 16 of them. And you can see really when spikes start happening. So a card like Rosa, for example, from Cosmic Eclipse. We all know how expensive this is from Dream League. This is a $400 plus card in Dream League for Japan's equivalent of Cosmic Eclipse. But this card has really exploded in price over the last 6-7 months or so. You can see relative consistency April, June, July, August of 2022, where at one point in time it actually hit a 1-year low of 113.53, and then you're looking at about 40% growth in the next 6 months. So is that organic? Is that natural? Or are you looking at a situation where people are starting to panic a little bit and starting to buy these cards because they don't want them to get to a point where it's too expensive and people are kind of controlling the market in that regard? This seems more like organic growth, more like what the price correction is actually meeting for demand. That's my own personal opinion. You guys can let me know, like I said, in the comment section down below. But you can see September, October, November, December, and then really in January, February, and March, it's skyrocketed at a 156 or 157.48 price point. So that's a 1-year high for this card. Like I said, up almost 40% from where it was 6 months ago. The next one that we're going to look at is Worker. This one is a little bit different because there are a lot of thoughts about this one regarding competitive play as we move forward into the next format. I personally don't see it. I don't see the benefit of drawing 3 cards and then discarding a stadium, because a lot of the decks that are expected to be good post-rotation, like Gardevoir, like Lost Box, aren't necessarily going to want to discard those stadiums. Maybe you'll play 1 in Gardevoir. You're probably not going to play any in Miraidon or Regieleki. So I honestly don't necessarily see it. This might have been a card more so that people were like, okay, well, this is a $3 ultra rare or $3, $4 full art. Like it shouldn't be at that price point, and then it started getting bought out. So I don't know if this is more of a competitive play move or if this is a buyout move, but you can see it hit a low point of $4.47 in February. It was never a very expensive card to begin with. Right when it came out, it was right around that $7 price point, really started trending downward, and then in February 2023 it hit that low before kind of skyrocketing over the weekend, and now it's sitting at $9.11, $9.54. That's a high, but the lowest price on TCG Player was $18.78. So that means this market price is going to change as soon as those copies start getting bought. It might have already changed, but you're looking at a $20 market price now for this card, which is basically going to be about 400% that this card has grown in the span of a month. So I don't know if it's really I don't see it in competitive play. I don't see this card being that good moving forward. I could be wrong. We'll see. We'll see what happens as we move into EUIC next week. The next one that we're going to look at is Jesse and James. This is from Hidden Fates. Hidden Fates in general has just really exploded over the past couple months. You've seen booster pack prices go from about $15 per pack up to about $18, $19 per pack and continuing to climb. But Jesse and James in specific has been really consistent over the past year. You can see it dipping down to that $4.88 mark. That was in June, and very slow growth after that. It hit about $7, $8 in December, and then January hit, and then it over doubled in price over the last couple months here. It's sitting at a high point of $16.47 currently, so you're looking at about 300% growth over the past year, with the majority of that being made up just over the past couple months. If we look at the Lily from Ultra Prism, this one is absolutely nuts. Definitely one of the most expensive full art trainer cards to ever be printed. I think this is actually the most expensive. Kind of some debate on whether or not it's this one or maybe Lucia, because Lucia has absolutely exploded in price. But $221.60 was the low point on this one in September. It was really consistent for pretty much the entirety of 2022 up until that point. But now you're seeing some of these modern cards hit new thresholds in price, like what we saw from Umbreon VMAX, what we're seeing from the alternate art Latias and Latios. That card just doesn't seem to have a ceiling, and it really makes you wonder what the ceiling is for Lily, because it just continues to go up and up. You can see how steep that incline is from September of 2022 all the way up until currently, sitting at $337.39. So that's a one-year high for this card. You're looking at 60-70% growth over the past 6-7 months, which is absolutely insane. Misty's Favor, kind of doing the same thing. In April of 2022, it was down to 81.83, very consistent all the way up until September, like what we saw. But then we saw some slow growth, some organic growth, where it kind of started going up about $10 a month or so. Hit January, February, it was only at about $110, and then all of a sudden in March it exploded about $50 just in that one span of time, that 1 month span of time. Kind of finished off its doubling in price basically over the past 3 months. So sitting at $160.83 currently. That's a one-year high for Misty's Favor. That card is from Unified Minds. The next one that we're going to look at is the other Lily. This one is from Sun and Moon Base. So this one actually came out earlier than the more expensive Lily, but this one has done a lot of damage, and more so over the past 6-7 months rather than the last 3 months. So you saw a little bit of a decline there in April, March, or April, June, July, April, May, June, July, August, where it actually dropped down to a one-year low in August of $18.75, and then some steady growth. It hasn't been that really steep incline. It's kind of increased steadily, more of a steep level, but still steady over the past 6-7 months now. Over doubled in price, almost tripled in price, sitting at $50.69 currently, so that's a one-year high for that Lily card. Here's that Lucia that we were talking about. The problem with Lucia is it's harder to find. Like, there's not a whole lot of near mint copies that are listed, so it's sitting at $185.21 currently, but there's not a whole lot of near mint copies available. Same thing with Erica's Hospitality. The market prices are all over the place for these cards because as soon as they get listed, they just get bought out. So we don't really know what the ceiling is for a couple of these cards, but you can see this card was down to $123.12. That was in April of 2022. Very slow organic growth all the way up until October, where it would only gained about $20, only went up about 10. And then from September all the way up until March now, it's really exploded, sitting at $185.21 currently. So you're looking at about $60 that it's gained, which is about 50-60% over the past 6 months. The next one that we're going to look at is Clara. This one's a little bit different. So this is from Chilling Reign. This one will continue to be in rotation moving forward, but not a whole lot of competitive connotations associated with Clara. You can see it was actually on a decline for a while there, whereas in September it hit 2203. So that was a 1-year low for this card, and then kind of rose a little bit. Looked like it was going to take off, and then relatively consistent all the way up until February, and then blew up out of nowhere. So it was sitting at $24, $25, and then it gained about 60% out of nowhere just in February and March, and now it's sitting at $38.74. So that's a 1-year high for that Clara. Cynthia, this is the one what we were talking about before. I bought a few of these down in Fort Wayne. Kind of slow decline at the beginning of 2022. You can see in April it started going up a little bit, but then trended downward for the next 4 or 5 months or so. Up until October, you can see it hit that 1-year low of $82.98, and then a real steep incline there in October where it jumped up to about $100. Kind of grew even further, hit a 1-year high in February of 2023 where it hit $118.21, and now it's backed off a little bit, but it's still sitting at $115.86, which is still about 30-40% that it's gained over the past 6-7 months. Green's Exploration also doing the same thing as what we just saw with Cynthia, where it was trending downward a little bit all the way up until September, October. It hit that $43.18 mark, and then started to spike where it jumped up in November and December, hit almost $60, and then a little bit slower, but still growth over the past couple months, sitting at $69.47. Another card that's gained 60-70% just over the past few months. Lusamine has just been a very, very steep incline over the past year. This one has just not seen any dips really at all. A little bit of levelness from June until September, but then just continuing to climb. And this is why I'm talking about maybe this is more organic growth than anything else. This looks like a price correction. This looks more natural. Maybe when these cards got bought out, they sunk down and people were like, we were patient, we were waiting, and now demand is going to start going up a little bit. These are more steady growth numbers where you're not just seeing these spikes all over the place like we saw back then. But Lusamine really starting to trend upward, sitting at $69.06. So that's a 1-year high for this card. It's gained about 40% over the last year and just continuing to trend upward. Here's the other Lusamine. This one is from Crimson Invasion. Very, very consistent for just about all of 2022. You can see, saw a little bit of a spike in October, November, where it went from about $20 up to $25. It hit that 1-year low in September of $19.14. But then in December, really started to skyrocket and spiked in January and February. It hit about $41. Gained a little bit after that. $42.24 was a 1-year high, which it hit the beginning of March. Now it's sitting at $41.70, but still, you're looking at over doubling in price over the past 6 months. Wiki kind of doing the same thing, slowly started to go downwards in September of 2022. It hit a 1-year low of $19.28, and then you're seeing about 60-70% growth again just over the past 5 months, where it's sitting at $32.51 currently. So that's a 1-year high for that card. Same thing with Acerola. Acerola also has a little bit of connotation from the GLC standpoint. If you don't know what GLC is, it's really caused a lot of cards to spike over the past year. Cards like Colress, cards like Muscle Band, Town Map, things like that. GLC is an additional format that kind of got introduced by Andrew Mahone that Pokemon looks at, and they actually have events that go on during regional weekends. It's just a fun event, but who knows, maybe one day Pokemon will sanction stuff like that to award points. You can see in June of 2022, Acerola hit a 1-year low of $25.93 and stayed relatively consistent at that point for the next few months. And then in October, just started taking off. It went from $25 basically to $45 over the span of a month and a half, and then continued to grow at a slower pace over the next couple months, sitting at $53.96. So currently sitting at a 1-year high. It's over doubled in price over about the last 8 months or so. Bianca, this one's a little bit different because this one was really consistent. March, April, May, then went up in June a little bit. You're only looking at about a $5-10 price hike there, but then stayed at that price point for the next 8 months, all the way up until February of 2023. And then you can see it really started getting purchased. So in June, it hit hit that 107.50 mark, and then in February of 2023, it basically jumped from about $110 to $144. So it's sitting at $144.84 currently. That's a one-year high for this card, but again, a card you're looking at about 40% growth just over the past 2 months. Mallow, this one is from the Guardians Rising set. So in May of 2022, it hit a one-year low of $16.66, stayed fairly consistent right around $17, $18 until October of 2022, and then started to take off a little bit. It hit a one-year high in March of $28.86. It's only lost about 30 cents of that, so it's still sitting at $28.50. Another card that you're looking at about 70-80% growth just over the past 6 months, and that's the last one that we're going to look at. But there are other cards. You heard me mention Erica's Hospitality. There's Lily's Full Force. There's a lot of other cards, Cynthia and Caitlin, that are kind of continuing to trend in that upward direction. So definitely pay attention to what's going on in the market. You really want to start looking at how many cards are listed, how many are available, what the price points are, so that way you can start kind of determining, okay, is this a buyout going on? Is this card just getting a lot more popular? And maybe you start looking at some of these full arts, if you're missing any of them, adding them to your collection before they get too expensive, or starting to kind of put down what price point you're comfortable paying, searching on eBay, kind of refreshing, looking for any cards that you can kind of add to your collection at a little bit better of price points, because some of these have started to get out of hand. So I hope you guys like the content. If you do, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Leave a like, leave a comment, share the video, share the channel. Like I said, all those things really go a long way with the algorithm and basically helping the channel get in front of more people, which then helps us get to 100,000 subscribers faster, helps us grow faster, helps us give away more faster, helps us yeah, you know how it works. So thank you guys so much for everything. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Until then, peace.